reality.
Welcome back, everybody. It's 14 after the hour and time for us to go behind the headlines. And I got this story that came across the pond from Hartlepool. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. There's probably a proper British pronunciation, but Hartlepool, UK judge who rejected the claims of a man who said he smoked 40 joints a day after his collection of plants was sniffed out by the police. The man's 28 years old. His name's John. And the police found 21 cannabis plants at his flat, his apartment, right? So he claimed he could smoke up to a half an ounce of skunk cannabis a day. And then they say, the court says, the report here says between 40 and 70 joints after taking up the drug when he was just 14. So he's 28. He's been smoking half his life. All right. The first problem I have with a story like this, I hate it when they tell a story and they ask someone, well, how much weed do you smoke? And the guy says, well, up to a half ounce. And they go, well, that's 40 joints. They always want to break it down to the small number there, to the small unit, so they can say 40 joints to make it seem like it was an outrageous amount of cannabis to be smoked. But if you're smoking bongs, if you're smoking out of bowls, if you're vaporizing marijuana, you're putting in bowl after bowl after bowl, and it may turn out to be a half ounce by the end of the day. It's very possible. I know people that use at that level, that it is their personal use. So my problem with the story is how they always want to convert this into some sort of international joint, right? Now, if we get out the old calculator here and we put in the fact that an ounce of marijuana, well, that's 28 grams, right? So if he says he smokes if he says he smokes a half ounce a day, well, that's 14 grams. And they're saying that's going to make 40 joints. That's joints that would be 0.35 of a gram. Those are pinners, folks. Those are little tiny joints. This is the same sort of unit that they try to use at the FDA when they say that a joint is 0.4 grams. Folks, the types of joints that people are smoking these days can range anywhere from 0.75 to 1 whole gram per joint. We're talking about long old 1 1/4s and big bombers and blunts that people are rolling. This 0.35, third of a gram joint measurement is just used to inflate the numbers and to scare the people that are reading the story. Now, as they continue, here's how this story went down. And it's a reminder for anyone who lives in shared housing. If you're in an apartment complex, duplexes, anything like that. And that is the crime that could be taking place or disturbance that could be taking place near you could end up being the reason that gets you busted. In this story, the police uncovered the growth in Hartlepool after they'd been called to a domestic incident nearby. So somebody else in a flat down the hallway might have been beaten up on their spouse. That brings the cops. They do a little sniffing and they can tell that there's marijuana somewhere. So that's what it says right here. They smelled cannabis and investigated. So the officers went inside. They found a cannabis grow upstairs. There was 21 plants and 2 suspected mother plants, which could provide cuttings for more plants. There were lightings and fans and compost and so forth. The plants were several weeks away from being harvested. When the judge asked about the case, the man said that he would have given some to his friends, but he would not have wanted any money. When asked how much cannabis he smoked per day, he said, as much as I could get a hold of, 1/4 of an ounce on a bad day, half an ounce on a good day, and denies that he would have sold any. The judge accepted the plants were not for commercial supply, but found his claim that he smoked half an ounce a day unacceptable. Also rejected his claim that he would not have grown more plants since he had a mother plant and a substantial setup. So he will be sentenced soon. And these kind of cases, people getting busted for having plants in their home, the smell gives them away. And it's always telling when you hear the reports and you hear the court cases of how cooperative and how friendly and easygoing the cannabis defendant is. Admitting that he was growing plants, admitting that he had cannabis, even admitting that he would share with friends, but really wouldn't take any money for it. And that seems outrageous to the judge, and that seems unbelievable to the public sometimes. But let me tell you, as somebody who's been in this cannabis community for 22 years, going on 23 years now, this is common in our world. We don't think of marijuana as a monetary supply. When you get into a certain level here in the cannabis community, it's almost immoral to want to profit off of it. You want to give it away. You want, at least at the friend level, you want to share with your friends. You don't want to be the kind of guy that's, oh, well, you owe me $5 for that bud. We're not those kind of people. And sure, there might be a commercial level to it where you're selling to acquaintances or you're selling to, the general market out there. But for a guy to say he smokes a half ounce a day and likes to give some to his friends, that's perfectly reasonable. And soon enough, we'll have this legal enough that people will know the truth and they'll know how people actually use cannabis. And pardon me for the lack of voice here, but I'm still fighting off this cold. I'm just to the end of it, but we're coming back next. Brian the Red's got some reggae for us from the Red Eyes Reggae Flashback, so stick around. We'll be right back.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he's